Alright. If the battery survives, we'll survive. I don't have this plugged in because it overheats. Alright, let's see. The temperature is in the 80s. I am uploading a video and I'm filming a video. So if I were to charge it right now, it would overheat the camera on the phone. Yeah, that's what I want. I want that type of thinning flake. So wherever I can get one of those, that's what I want. And I got to take them mainly from this side. I don't want to mess with the other side. I still have some width to work with, so I'm going to peck or pick on the edge. First in one direction and the other direction. This just makes everything smoother on the surface. It kind of reduces the boldness of the flaking, but what I'm looking for is just a good convex surface right now. I'm not too concerned about the flaking pattern or how well it shows up. If my goal is the thinness, then everything else is secondary. And then the other direction. I don't really need to grind it because I'm just pushing downward. Tooltip on the surface, pushing downward. All that does is moves the edge that way. For the next series of percussion flakes, I think I can still hit this with percussion. If not, I'll just continue with pressure. But pressure at this stage, when it's thin, for me, increases the chance of snapping it in half. I break a lot more thin pieces with pressure than I do with percussion. And I don't know if that's because I use pressure more with thin pieces or what, but it could be that I use pressure more with thin pieces. But I tend to break them more with pressure when I feel like it's dicey. When I feel like it's dicey and I'm using pressure, it seems like I break them more often. Alright. So it's just downward pressure on this to move the edge for the next series of flakes. Now, is it better to do sequential to thin than to do random? Yes, I do think so, yeah. Sequential is a little bit better for thinning. Now that I'm in a position to answer that question, since I've been doing a lot more sequential flaking, I think it is slightly better than random when it comes to thinning. There's not much though, because random you can go after the random high spots here and there, attack the worst areas first. With sequential, you've got to adapt with each flake. Some is very minimal pressure, some is a lot, depending on the circumstance. The thicker it is in the spot where you're trying to flake, the more pressure required. It's not perfectly flat, so with each flake, it's not a progression of increased pressure. Some of these up here have more pressure than some of these down there. It depends on how thick a flake you want to remove. Thick flakes require lots of pressure. And I'm talking relatively speaking, because all these flakes are thin, but you know what I'm saying. There's very subtle differences. Okay, so in addition to being very pointed, this needs to be very clean. Can't have little pieces of stone on the tips of this while I'm trying to pressure flake, because the stone will embed itself into the tip and mess up these pressure flakes. Okay, alright, let's see if I can do this and finish up. Okay, if I can't seem to be getting any thinner, I'll just notch it and call it good, and then I'll work on this set after the auction later this week. Yeah, I can get the point to seat, it seems, the point of the tool to seat itself on the platform. Well, not that one. How about the next one? Yeah. See if it can seat itself. See, I created a step fracture because it released too fast on this one. But this one seated well, it didn't go anywhere, and I was able to push off a flake. Whereas if it doesn't seat well, it'll just crush right away and produce a little step like that, which does exist on real artifacts. So not a big deal. Yep, I'm able to get some thinning flakes which go more than halfway, at least up here. Now as I get more down into the point, I'm going to use percussion down here. Because I would have to use way too much pressure and I risk snapping the whole thing in half. See, I'm getting a step on that side as well. I'm going to try to clean that up. Well, I probably shouldn't do it right now, because that tip has started to get way too delicate, but I got to come back to that tip and clear off those step fractures. Alright. Yeah, time for some percussion down in this area of the blade. Okay. Again, I need a perfect tool tip. No embedded pieces of stone. No weird contours. Nice and clean. Okay. I'm up on the platform, I'm not on the edge, I'm a little bit higher. I'm not right on the edge, I'm a little bit higher. Okay, I'm up on the platform, I'm not down on the edge. I'm a little bit past the edge, up on the surface. Okay. It's risky. I had to hit that very hard and it didn't go. So that means I need to hit harder, right? But hitting harder on this little thin piece, dicey, but it's just a matter of scale. You know, I gotta pretend it's a big piece. Same forces apply, it's just smaller. Okay. It's just a smaller thing, but the same forces apply. I can try a percussion hit here or there, but neither one is ideal. But I can try some percussion hits up near the tip to get that thin down. Okay, I've got to stop the video here because it's going to shut off due to low battery power. But I'll come back to it. I'll just tag on the rest of it. Okay. Okay, last video for tonight. Right, hopefully. I'm just going to quickly finish this up and notch it. It probably won't be as thin as the first Cahokia. I made this one off camera. I'll probably have to make a match to this off camera as well, but I do want to finish this as best I can in the short time I've got left. Maybe 20 minutes, just so I can round out the this first part. This first part was like 11 minutes before the battery almost died. Okay. So since I'm not going to really match this up perfectly, well, I'll do it as close as I can. I was going to say, since I'm not going to match it perfectly, might as well just notch it in the old way. But no, I will try to get it as close as possible. But the thickness will be thicker, most likely. Okay. Excuse me. I did take a little break. Get the battery charged up to about 35%. Hopefully, that's enough. Okay. Where was I? I'm doing the indirect percussion on it, I think. Yeah. Without the glove. Okay. Why the indirect percussion instead of pressure? Because indirect percussion is excellent at thinning no matter how big the piece is. Small, large. Doesn't really matter. I want to thin down this lump right here. I could do it with some pressure. Now, I didn't go over the other danger with pressure, with this type of pressure where you're trying to produce long flakes. The other danger is the overshot thing. Not only can you snap it in half, but you can overshoot it, ruin the other edge. I do have some room. I can overshot it a little bit, but it can't really be very much at all. You know, just minimal room to work with. at this point. So some of these arrowheads that get thin can take hours. 2 hours for a very thin, very delicate point is not unusual for me. And if you're looking for a payoff on your time investment, this won't be it. Unless you can do the thin arrowheads really fast. I don't know anyone that could do that. Sometimes these tiny ones are more difficult than the larger ones. Just because a lot of times it's hard to get a grip on these sometimes. To apply enough pressure, it's hard to get a grip. Let's see. Yeah, I'll try to get a better setup with the lighting. I'll probably end up napping late at night tomorrow night. I'm not pulling all-nighter, but just I'll be napping late tomorrow as well to get caught up. And yes, this is becoming my little part-time job. I'm in the process of writing as well. I write almost every day. A little bit, at least every day. We'll see what happens. See if I can put together some writings. I should be doing drawings as well. Both artistic drawings and dimension drawings on artifacts. Yep, you can do artistic artifact drawings as well as, technical dimension drawings. And I don't know what you call the drawings of artifacts that are able to be stored in museums. Archival drawings? I don't know. I could do some of those too, but I don't know. There's already plenty of those archival type drawings of artifacts. We'll see. So yeah, I'm planning on publishing how-to books. Big shocker there. Right? Big shocker. This is good for part-time income, right? This has been fun. I need something a little bit better. Okay. Okay. I ground the edges a little bit too well. I abraded the edges a little bit too well here. If they're a little bit too well abraded, it's hard to push off a flake. It just slips off the platform because it's too rounded. Gotta have a little bit of a flat spot or a rough spot to grip onto. Even with these little bitty flakes, it's the same as a big flake, just a smaller scale. Everything is the same. The angles are the same. Edges are the same, just smaller in scale. It might be easier for some people, but for others, getting down into this little bitty micro world is not easy. Yeah, I probably dulled it a little bit too much again. We'll see. This is when the dome pad comes in handy, because I only want to put pressure, or I only want to have the pad applying pressure where I am taking a flake. I don't need any support anywhere else. And if there is support elsewhere, it may snap the point. Like if I have support here in front and back, it'll snap the point. So I only want support right where I'm releasing a flake. Yeah, I need to be able to have a good seat, and that was not it. Still not it. I can kind of tell, that's why I'm scratching backwards. I can kind of tell that it's a little weak. Come on. Yeah, that was good. As long as it seats well on the platform, I can push with the amount of force I think I need. And you'll get used to it over time. Alright, that's about as much thinning as I want to do. It's not too much different. I do need to take the edges down a little bit, but that's not a problem. Okay. Alright, so the main hurdle is over with. I can go faster now. Do I leave little serrations on the edge? I think Cahokias were pretty straight edged, but I have seen some with little bitty serrations. So yeah, you can do either way, with serrations or without. Right? I think that's right. You can correct me in the comments. As usual. Corrections in the comments are good. Although some people they're too in the zone even to hit the like button. They just keep going. Next video, next video. They'll zone out and watch dozens of videos a day. Won't comment, won't like or dislike. They just watch. I know, because I've done that too. Alright. You mean you don't like or dislike videos sometimes? Oh yeah, I'm guilty of that. I'm not going to complain. I forget to hit the like. They disabled the dislike button. So, if you dislike it, I don't think it shows up, right? I don't see the number of dislikes. Right? There is still a button, but there's no totals under the dislike. That happened some weeks ago. Ouch, that's too much. Yeah, maybe a little too much. I'm getting close. Got to be careful. Anyway, what happened to the dislike? Does YouTube want to become Twitter, where you can't dislike? We'll see what happens. Yeah, if you want me to discuss a certain topic, just put it in the comments. Archaeology related, preferably. I don't really read too many new developments. I'm trying to get caught up on philosophical and statistic books. Books on statistics, books on philosophy. There's not that many books on archaeology that are just technical, textbooks on Audible. Unless I haven't looked in the right spot. Yeah, I would need to remove some flakes with indirect percussion on the bass to get it thin. Do I want to risk it? I could. I could do one or two just to demonstrate. No, don't risk it. It's already almost time. Yeah. Just do the notching. That's it. That'll thin it. No, I'm going to risk it. I am going to risk it because that's my job. I take the risks so you don't have to. Right? Right. Supposedly. Supposedly. Yeah. Ouch, that hurt. Not painful, that hurt because it crushed. It's not supposed to crush. Just means I didn't abrade that spot enough. Still crushing in that spot. There we go. Something's happening. Getting some thinning. A little bit. Oops. A pointy flaker. Although I could do it with a spatula tool. I'm going to do it with a pointy flaker. It's a little bit more accurate. because I can get in between, if I need to, in between the little bumpy areas. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to get in between those little bumpy areas. With I could use either tool. I could use the spatula tool. It doesn't need to have a perfect edge right here, just enough for me to catch so I can shoot some flakes inward. There we go. Yeah, good edge preparation does matter. Okay, have I taken enough risks? Yeah. All right. I'm going to do some notching and then I'll sharpen it. Still not sharp enough. This flaker is almost too short. This tip is almost too short to be effective. I'm going to have to change it out. Just pull it out and drive a new nail into it. Alright, let's see. I should straighten out that base. It's a little bit crooked. Alright. I'm going to do the notching before. I'm going to do the notching before the final sharpening, because the final sharpening involves a little bit of dressing up the sides of the notches, because sometimes they get blown out a little bit. So if the sides of the notches get blown out, you can take back the edge a little bit and make them look more crisp. Make the corners more crisp instead of rounded off or blown out. You know, nice crisp corners. That can be accomplished later on by sharpening. I still have some room on the width. Okay. Alright, so let's see if I have a pen or something I can mark where these notches are going to begin. There's really no easy way of doing this other than marking it with something. If you want to match. Okay. Alright, so I'll just mark where I'm going to notch, scratch, pop, scratch, flip, pop, scratch, flip, pop, scratch, flip, pop, crunch. I could tell I didn't pop out very well, so I crunched it in. It's starting to stall a little bit. Let's see if I can pop a good one out. Scratch. Flip. Yeah, it was a good pop out. One more good pop out. Yeah, it's okay. Scratch. Good. Good. Still a little thick. Oh well. scratch where I'm going to notch, flip, pop out a flake, or scratching, flip, pop it out. Alright, do the other side before I lose that mark, before it rubs off. Scratch. I'm a little bit off. Pop, scratch, flip, pop a flake, scratch it out. They're a little bit, it's a little bit off. I can fix that by dropping this notch a little bit down and this one, move this one a little bit, widen this one up further, widen the top of that one. So yeah, the formula is just scratch, flip, pop out a flake, scratch, flip, pop out a flake. Here's flip. Let's see if this will pop. Stall is not one of the procedures. Let's see. Lots of pressure here. Okay. Yeah, that was good, but it's starting to stall. Let's see if I can get a good pop out. I need at least one good pop out to get it thin. Yeah, like that. Nice pop out. Okay. That thins it down and makes it so much easier for the next pop out. Okay. In this case, I'm using the front of the tool, not resting the tool on the surface, but using the front to dig in case you're not noticing what's going on. Okay, now this next notch, I'm going to drop it down a little bit. So I raised the top of that notch a little bit. I'm going to lower the bottom of that notch a little bit. It makes them a little wider, but it also makes them look a little more symmetrical because I messed up the symmetry. Scratch, flip, pop. And make sure you don't pop too much out because then you'll blow away the sides. It gets delicate at this point because there's a lot of places where it can snap. So I can't use too much pressure. Just barely enough to keep it from stalling, but also give me a nice pop out. Okay, so now it's just a matter of taking back the edge, and I think I'm going to take this one back mostly. This one looks pretty sharp around the notches. This one I blew out slightly on the top part here. So let me deepen this notch a little bit more, and I'm going to take down that edge and then we'll be done. Okay. I can take this opportunity to remove dull spots or add serrations or whatever. Maybe even thin it a little bit if you're lucky, but I don't think I'm going to thin it at all on this pass. Just get rid of the dull spots and the large deltas. The deltas are just little protrusions. They're not quite like serrations, but they're similar. The deltas are just the high spots. Usually they contain a ridge, but not always. Sometimes they look pretty flat. Maybe a little bit of a ridge. Why is that important? Well, mainly because people take things really literally. I have experience with that from my kids. You know, you have to be careful that you explain things in a way that if you take it literally, you're still okay. Ouch. A little bit too much off the corner trying to thin this down. That's not good because that's the symmetry I wanted to try to fix. I was trying to reduce this side to match this side, but now I took a little bit too much off of that side, so now I got to reduce the other side again. I thought I saw a thick spot. Yeah, okay. I did see a thick spot, but it might remain thick because it's not cooperating. And you don't want to put on too much pressure at this stage. You don't want to force it. I don't know, I think I'll leave it like that because it's 30 minutes in. And then I still got to tag on the first part. But there you go. That's as close as I can get it on video. If I really want to get it thinner than the Cahokia one, I'll have to do it off camera. Okay. There you go.